early access for InZoi is coming for everyone eventually, but the reviews for creators that got extra early access are out. Here's a summary of top 5 well-done reviews that I've found so far, where to find them, and what you can expect of InZoi gameplay and building. Now, I do this sometimes for Sims 4 packs as well, just to give you a variety of perspectives, and of course I will throw in my own opinions, but hopefully this gives you a guide. And yes, these reviews are very lengthy in of themselves, so hopefully you can pick and choose what reviews you would like to watch. The first review was by Nicole. Now, we know that there are traits in InZoi, and we looked at that in one of my previous videos, but there's also this desired life. As you can see here, there's abundant life, tranquil life, loved life, free life, challenging life, wise life, creative life, life of contribution, and life of overcoming. Now, unfortunately, I don't have full details of these, but I do have a few more details later on in this video. I will say the overmap and the overall city controls are fairly impressive, and I think there's some pretty interesting things at play here. First of all, we're gonna have apartments in this game and also oceanfront views, and yes, there are activities right around the ocean too, which we will get to later in this video. There's also the concept of karma, so you're actually acting as a god and you're controlling different InZois around the world, and each InZoi has karma, and supposedly your ultimate goal is to make sure that karma is balanced and InZois are getting the best karma possible. Exactly the consequences of karma, I'm not entirely sure yet, but it has been implied that it will impact future generations. Interestingly enough, there are jobs depending on the world you're in, so those jobs will fluctuate. I highly suspect they're going to add more over time. In the Korean city-based world, you have different ones like firefighter and also a K-pop star, but actually in the world based more on the California region, we have things that are related a lot to the amusement park and some of the other venues around there. Also office worker, office team leader, field worker, cashier, shops around the world, and it does actually have a freelance tab as well. If you play The Sims, you're probably familiar with most of these needs, however there is one in particular that's different. So we have hunger, hygiene, sleep, bathroom, fun, social, recognition, and energy. Recognition, I don't know entirely that much about. People say it has to do with, of course, interactions with other InZois, and it also plays into some social media aspects. Now, one of the big appeals for people interested in InZoi, of course, is the open world and the transportation options. One of them is you can take a subway in some worlds and a bus in other worlds. And once you get into this, you actually get taken to the map and then you just click on where you want to go. Of course, if you don't want to take public transportation, you can drive a car, and I am happy to report you can drive it manually, or there is actually an automated option. Now, with the automated option, you won't actually, I don't think, see it. I think it just pretty much takes you to the location. I could be wrong on that, but I do think it's really good to have both of those options for people to kind of go back and forth with. I will say, I think that InZoi does have a lot of different venues to go to already, which is definitely a plus for this game. One of them is this art gallery, and of course at all these venues you can meet different InZoi. Now, as far as how populated the worlds are, I think it really depends on your perspective. I thought there were a decent amount of InZois going about, but it definitely was not filled to the brim whatsoever. Some people think it still seems kind of empty. Me personally, I think that if it was too full, the game would probably explode, but you can let me know in the comments below what your impressions are. Now, the social interactions menu, which I do want to get into a little bit more later, it is a lot different. You basically have a couple different tabs for different types of interactions. There's romantic, there's business oriented, and there's more peer or friendly oriented. The weird thing is though, a lot of these interactions aren't necessarily what you would expect. For example, under the romance tab, sometimes you can get something that doesn't seem romantic in nature. It could be like talking about caffeine is one example. The idea is these interactions aren't inherently in of themselves romantic, but they have a tone to it and it still, I guess, works towards that type of relationship. There's also a rumor system with this, which I didn't really get to see very much of with these reviews. Apparently, the rumor system just builds over time. So again, I think a lot of these ideas are intriguing, but to be honest with you, with a lot of the live previews, I didn't get to see a lot about the actual impact of karma, the actual impact of rumors, or honestly that much about the nuance with relationships. What I did get to see, however, is plenty to do in the world. So for example, you can go to this kind of park area and there's a food cart. There's also a place to get cotton candy. I'll show you later. There's actually a place to play volleyball. There's beach activities. So making the world feel really immersive, I definitely think they did a pretty good job, at least so far. far in this game. This is the user interface for basically your scheduler and planner, and just kind of tells you what's going on in terms of your working, or you can even volunteer for charity some places. This is showcasing how you work on your love level. I don't know how long it takes to actually get super close to another InZoi. It really did appear, and most times it was pretty quick. Of course, the same critique could be shoved at Sims 4, so I'm not saying this is specific to InZoi. And again, it's really hard for me to tell for sure the passage of time, but it didn't seem to have tons of difficulty to it. And another thing I noticed is there wasn't really much talk about attraction, or even in terms of personalities getting along with each other or not getting along with each other. That isn't to say that isn't the case, it's just to say that I didn't see it in the live mode previews. This was pretty awesome though. The rides, I'm happy to say, in Bliss Bay are actually functional, and you can change camera modes to suit your liking. There's 2 different camera modes, and as you can see here, this is on a roller coaster and it overlooks the bay. Now I will say I didn't catch tons of bugs or glitches, but I will point them out if I saw anything. So really right now there's just some minor weirdness going on with some of the assets. I did notice some clipping. This is very usual, especially for games in pre-early access and even in early access. So nothing really to worry about. And also this interaction right here, I'm not really sure what was supposed to be going on, but probably something very small went on there. But beyond that, I would consider those fairly minor so far. Next up, we have this review from Datura Plays. I don't know if that's how you say it. But we saw a little bit more of the character creation, which you're going to be able to play with yourselves for free for download on Steam. Definitely check out my last video if you need any details on that. The ages so far are kid, teenager, adult, middle age, and senior. Now I think it's cool to actually add the middle age stage to this, so you can let me know what you think about the stages so far. There's also a feature that's pretty much like the gallery in The Sims 4, but hopefully better, and you're going to be able to share all of your creations. You can share InZoi, but you can also share objects you create. Body modification, there's about 9 different places I think they said that you could modify. Again, you're going to get early access to this pretty soon just to play around with. There's difference in muscle tone in different body types too. Now, as I mentioned before, this is actually a look at the karma dashboard. And again, you're working for this cat, which is the overall vibe of this game. And I guess you're trying to balance out the karma. This is what I think is pretty interesting. And I'm not gonna lie, I think this should be in most simulation games. This is how you can control your city or your world, whatever you want to call it. So there's family relationships, relationship openness, city sanitation, fire prevention rate, city safety, health level, and also even dream occurrence rates. It's a sliding scale, so you can just move it up and down as you wish. This is really cool because it dictates how often you're going to see different relationships. It dictates how dirty your city is going to get, how often fires are going to erupt, and also crime levels. Now, I don't know the consequences of most any of these, and that's one thing I really wanted to see more in these reviews. I know they probably didn't honestly have much time to explore, so I'm not blaming them whatsoever. Definitely props for the overall design here. There are also ways you can modify your world. You can add little decor elements in different areas. There's a place where you can actually just change the colors of the trees, the types of the grass, and also you can actually populate animals around the world. Now, I don't know if these animals you can actually interact with, but there are a variety of animals you can place. Go see a fortune teller. Now again, there's a lot of interesting elements in this game with dreams and also fortune telling. I know dreams can kind of impact your mood and how you're feeling about life. They do give you a pop-up when you have events like engagement and marriage. And speaking of which, this just says congratulations on your wedding. So I don't know the answer to this because we did see a scene in one of the screenshots showcasing a wedding. This appeared just to be a pop-up option. So maybe they eventually plan to have active weddings, or maybe someone just didn't play them out. But in short, with the review, it was just a pop-up option for now. Front other InZoi, for example, this creator was having fun slapping other InZoi, farting in their face. This isn't the best screenshot ever, but you can also go fishing by the bay. And rounding up this review, there's also gym equipment, and it's nice to see something like this. Next up is Ocean Sims. Now this is a preview introduction you get when you get into your game. I'll just browse through it really quickly. InZoi, you will be managing as trainee god. It is filled with various cities, and managing their lives and karma scores is the primary duty. Meetings provide an opportunity to reflect on work performance and explore improvements. Now again, I don't really understand the full implications of this, if this is just kind of the lore behind the game, or if it's actually very goal-based. Texting, social media, and posting do play a role in this game, of course, and you will get get messages from InZoi you have interacted with before. So far, people seem to think it was fairly intelligent. I can't tell you if it's going to get repetitive, it's going to be meaningless, but so far it looks at least promising. As I mentioned before, there's lots of activities, including volleyball. We have preferences for fitness, food, relationships, hobbies, activities, instruments, and once again, I didn't see this explored if this actually made a difference besides just being there, but it is a good idea in of itself. It's kind of like likes and dislikes in Sims 4 if I had to compare it to Sims 4. Now these ambitions, as you can see here, you can change ambitions anytime you want to, and ambitions, at least for now, the ones that we're going over, they have just a few levels and they have a few goals for each level. I think most of them are about 2 or 3 different levels, so they are on the shorter side, and I don't know exactly what it all entails. However, this goal of staying healthy includes buying a cleaning tool and cleaning something a few times. One thing I definitely can't complain about is making use of the world. As you can see here, yes, we do have a beach. And yes, you can actually practice paddling on land, and yes, you can actually get out into the water. And this is just a picture of surfing. It is pretty awesome in terms of overall immersion. And like I said, I think there's lots of possibilities. Like in the future, you could even have like a surfing competition, just getting some ideas. Values can really change depending on the moment. It's your InZoi's highest priority at the moment, so this priority changed to love. Now, one question is, when an InZoi is getting into an intimate relationship, does it always change to love? I would actually really like to see if traits make a difference in this. I would like to see how all this makes a difference. If that's a value, how does it actually impact your gameplay? Second to last review, we're almost there, is by Mad Morph. Now, Mad Morph actually highlights some aspects of build mode that some of the other creators weren't going on as much about. One thing is, build mode is highly customizable, but the feature is AI generation. So how it works is when you go into build mode, you can actually have an AI prompt and it will draw based upon your prompt. Essentially, you are using AI generation to create different wall decor, and you can also use this AI generation to create assets such as patterns on your clothing, even objects. Some people are going to love this. I know that the amount of things generated are going to explode. The exchange is probably going to be super busy. I've expressed my view on this in the past, so you can check out my past videos. Something you might be used to already though is the ability to place rooms. These are preset rooms, so this just gives you an idea. If you're a terrible builder like me, there are restaurants to go to. Now, most of the restaurants do seem more fast food oriented. You will order at a kiosk and then they bring out your food. I will say, like most things in this game, I think the food is pretty realistic and has some nice details. One thing I will say about this game is you are going to be really invested in working. Active work days are really central to InZoi as far as I can tell. And when you go to work, there are different tasks. This was true for the part-time jobs and also the full-time jobs. You'll get the task indicator and it will tell you the to-do list, and everything has a time limit, and that of course will impact your performance. I will say the other InZois don't seem to be very interactive during the workday, but I think that's probably by design, and honestly that means they're actually doing what they're supposed to be doing instead of doing random push-ups in the middle of an office. And rest assured, you're not going to be bored at home either, because there are chores to do. Laundry comes in this game, as well as vacuuming. Now, do you have to do these things? I don't know. I'm guessing you do actually have to upkeep and clean your house with vacuuming. That wasn't specified, but if you like that sort of thing, it's definitely in there. And another feature that's in the works for InZoi is cutscenes. Now, they already do have cutscenes for specific moments. However, they're working on a studio generation where people can create their own cutscenes. I don't know any of the details beyond that, but probably cutscenes would be good for something like machinimas as well. If you're still here, thank you so much. Rounding up the end of my marathon viewing and reviews is by It's Me Troy. Now, admittedly, I didn't learn a lot new from this review, and that's just because I've been watching other reviews, even ones beyond the one I'm reporting on. But there are a few takeaways. First of all, there's another visual glitch. Again, it's pretty minor. It tends to happen with some of the clothing, but just keep that in mind. I'm sure there is plenty of time to get that sorted out. There's also a hotel lobby and lounge. Now, I didn't actually see a room rented out, but I assume you can rent out a room, and rest assured, like I said, there's lots lots of different activities to do and just lots of different venue types. I think that's really good for a foundation of a game. There's even a bank you can visit in person. And I'm also curious in terms of crime, does anyone ever rob the bank? I don't know. That while I think all these reviewers brought in a lot of personality and they did a great job, I think they needed more time, or maybe there's just some elements that aren't fully developed yet. Mainly, my questions are, how much do traits actually impact relationships? How hard are relationships to maintain? How does conflict arise? What is life like for younger life stages? Those would be my main questions, but mainly about the consequences. Because I think all these things, such as karma and the drama system, all this sounds great in my book. I definitely think we need to see if it actually makes an impact. Let me know what you think about this in the comments below. Hopefully this was helpful, but please take care and I'll see you in the next one.